Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud I own the things that I've got. I'm digging them moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine. Living Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud I own the things that I've got. I'm digging them moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's home.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Fish on Northwest, Wayne, England, Kelly Barnum. And of course, we got David over there in IT Corner getting it all done for us once again this week. We will be joined once again later in the kitchen with Chef Kelly Lance O'Neill and his lovely assistant Sherry with another fantastic recipe. And you know, Barnum, this week I went ahead and put up the pheasant episode of the cooking because it's upland bird season.
Yep.
Right? So hopefully a few of you have been out on some of the release sites getting after some pheasant, or even fishing some of the game preserves that we will frequent from time to time. Great opportunity to get out and get some pheasant. You got some quail going on. You got turkey opportunity. Yeah. Lots of opportunity in the realm of bird hunting as we speak. So lots going on this evening. We got a couple first-timers in studio guests joining us later. Jarrod Katie, Getm Dry Fishing Company, and of course Larry Phillips, WDFW Region 6 Director. And really good information to go over this evening. We're going to talk with Jarrod first and foremost about a lot of the stuff he has going on. Some of it outside of fishing here around the coastal region of where he spends most of his season. He's got Montana fly fishing in the summer. He does a lot of elk hunting in Idaho throughout the fall. And of course, he's got his Getm Dry Jig Company going like crazy, building a lot of jigs, all types of steelhead jigs, salmon jigs. Tons of stuff going on with him that we're going to delve into. Then later on, a lot of you have been complaining about the lack of coho. Yep. Barnum, we got kind of a mixed bag of results going on out there. Yeah. Some areas are fishing okay. Some areas are really a struggle. Got the whole Quileute system that's been shut down recently, and that's like a 3-week window of no opportunity, which is quite a blow to a lot of folks. If you remember back in September, the day after the Everett Coho Derby, they reduced the limit to 1 fish for that Puget Sound region. Actually, for all of Puget Sound at the time, we got reduced to 1 fish. So that early indicator was kind of concerning based on what was going on or what wasn't. Well, Larry's here tonight to talk about how WDFW puts together preseason forecasts. This may come as a shock to a lot of you for those that think, well, they just upped the numbers to be 1 million coho so they can sell a lot of licenses. Right. And then they come back a couple minutes later or a couple months later and say, oh, we missed it by 700,000. So just kidding. That's not what's going on. Larry's going to kind of set the record straight, kind of walk you through the educational process on how preseason forecasting comes together, truly all the effort that goes into that, and how we end up with a coho season that we're currently experiencing. So we'll get into all that later on in the show. I want to remind everybody that Fish Hunt Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons, located in Puyallup, Washington, and we thank them for that. Also, quick reminder for all of you joining us on Facebook or our YouTube channel this evening, hey, grab our content and get spreading it out there. Let people know where you're tuning in every Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m., right here at Fish Hunt Northwest, either on our Facebook page or join us via our YouTube channel. You know what? If you're watching on Facebook right now, do us a solid. Jump over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and share that with your friends. Get them to come to our channel and subscribe. We want to bump that over 1,000 here within this next week. Real close, you know. And then after we get there, it's just going to start exponentially growing for us. So try to help us build that if you would. Much appreciated. Make sure you join us throughout the week on our Facebook page. Barnum, you and I spend a lot of time putting up a ton of content. We keep relevant on all the stuff going on. We try to help educate you guys on everything from wolf management, opportunities to weigh in and give comment period. There's other things coming up here we're going to discuss tonight. You have time to get in on comment period. There's just a host of things going on behind the scenes that a lot of folks aren't aware of.
Right.
And we try to put that information out there to keep you up to speed. And as an outdoor recreational fisher hunter, you need to be in the know on this stuff, because it's anything or any opportunity, it seems, to keep us off the water, out of the woods. Right. We want to know what's coming and help, be conservationists and help keep us going in the things that we love to do. And if you're not weighing in on that stuff,
oh, absolutely,
you're just going to lose it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, you have to stay engaged. Have to.
So yeah, join us on Facebook throughout the week. Share our content. Spread it throughout the other groups. Draw your friends to our page and get involved in the conversation. We much appreciate that. All right, what's going on around the Northwest and beyond, Barnum? Well, fishing's a little slow.
Right. Well, this weather isn't really conducive for it's fantastic,
the weather's
sunshine, work. I got my flip-flops back on because it's summer.
Looks
right?
like you got another pedicure going on.
No, it's been a while.
Tough construction worker, little mani-pedi session.
But the weather's not conducive to a lot of fish movement. It's not conducive to elk movement for the rifle hunters.
No.
It's not really going to be conducive for the east side deer hunters coming up.
We're seeing, social media is pretty good. There's a handful of guys the last couple of days of the modern rifle for deer right up till October 31st. That 29, 30, 31.
Right.
A lot of blacktail hitting the dirt.
Right.
We had colder weather, a little breezy in some areas, but for a lot of the rifle guys and gals, you were out there knocking down some dandies. We saw some decent sized blacktail. Yep. One thing that was pretty common is like, gosh, man, there's another monster. Oh, there's another big one. Right. There's another toad, right? Lots of good sized blacktail this year. None for me as of yet.
Right.
Big boy came in, but I put that post up 14 hours too late, right? SOB showed up 8:30 in the morning, November 1st. He decided to make his appearance in the daylight. David, you got that picture? Yeah. So that is one that I've been chasing for all of at least 2 years. He may have actually shown one day 3 seasons ago.
Well, and we've talked about it too. That blacktail hunt it's a tough one because when that rut is starting to peak, you get the last few days of that general rifle season, and then it goes to elk season, and during that main peak, you're closed. You don't get to hunt deer. You're hunting elk, or you're waiting.
You got a 2-week window.
Then you get that small 4-day window, but a lot of times, depending on how that rut happens, you're at the tail end of it. Yep. Or potentially the bucks are in lockdown and they're with does, and they're not they're moving as they are when they're cruising at the end of October. You know? So yeah, it's tough. Really tough.
It's once again, I learned even more this year, especially spending time with Tom Ryle and Steve. Speaking of which, you're gone hunting next week.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Late season actually starts next Thursday, the 14th, when we're doing our show. It'll be end of day one of late modern rifle.
Right. Modern rifle whitetail starts the
9th. For you on the east side.
And it goes through the 19th.
9th through the 19th on the east side for whitetail.
On the east side, northeast corner for whitetail.
Yep.
And then it'll shut down for a little bit, and then archery will pop in like the 26th or 27th. I don't know, check the dates. But.
And over here we got from the 14th to the 17th. We had a 4-day window that Thursday through Sunday. Just happens we're doing our show next week on the 14th. Be the end of day one. I think I'll be in a tree stand that day, depending on what happens the next 7 days here. For the next week, how much activity I do or don't have on my trail cams.
Right.
If those guys aren't coming out, and I've seen this over there in that area that I hunt, it's like they get a couple-day window, they're out, and after that, they're either in lockdown, and they don't ever come back out on the camera, or then they just go back nocturnal and they're done.
Yeah, and this weather's been challenging, really. I have cell cameras up, and deer movement is very low right now, even northeast corner where the whitetail, it should be happening.
Sure.
And deer movement is, I'm getting hardly any daytime pictures of deer altogether.
Yep.
Because they're not moving during the day because things are just so calm, and it's over there, it's 50 degrees during the day.
We got a shot of rain coming like the 12th. 13th, something like that.
Yeah, a little one, front.
Yep. Yeah. And we'll get into the weather later on in the show, but that shot of rain could be obviously what we need for the rivers.
Right.
I don't think it's going to do much on the deer front because it's a 1-day deal. It's not like a 5-day, rain and blow. So, there again, that late 4 days, depending on what's going on with activity, if it's just not happening and we get that rain and we get a bump in the rivers.
Remember how excited we were in September, at the end of September, when there was snow in the forecast, and we're like, oh, this is the year.
Oh,
we're going to have the cold fall. We're going to have, we're going to see it in November, and here we are. It's 60 degrees during the day, and it's like, what is going on?
It's going to be tough. You may be better suited about the 14th through 17th, just spend time on the rivers, because those things will be on the drop if we get that rain that's anticipated. And then we'll truly gauge if we get some movement of some coho finally getting into some of these rivers, especially out here on the coast area and the intercoast here. We'll kind of gauge how that goes. But, it's a toss-up. Do you go hunting or you go fishing? Yeah. Again, you know what? I base it on weather and
I'm hunting because it's my Super Bowl. I mean, I've been working all year for sweet November.
Well, and you got some decent bucks over there.
I got some bucks showing up. David might throw a few pictures up. A lot of hard work went into the property this year, and it's starting to kind of pay off. We're starting to see. Last year, we didn't see the mature deer that we wanted to. I mean, we saw a lot of 3.5-year-old deer, but didn't see that 4.5 or 5.5-year-old deer. And this year, I have at least one deer that I'm going to put him at 4.5. He may be 5.5, but we've nicknamed him Wide Load because he is just. And David, I think we'll throw that picture up.
I don't know if I got that one on there or not.
One where he's broadside, and he is just a thick animal and nice wide rack. A little light on but definitely a buck you're not going to pass.
One that you'll definitely shoot.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple up and comers, 3.5-year-olds that I'm having the conversation with the wife right now. You know, you're going to see this deer. Don't shoot him. And I don't think that's going to work. I'm really trying, but I don't think it's going to.
That's my deer.
Yeah, we're trying to do. Yeah, that's the one that David just put up. That's one of my up and comers. I think he's a 3.5-year-old.
Yeah.
And then another one that's coming up here. I think David's going to get it right now. This guy right here, where you can see the width of his rack there. Yeah. And then on the next picture, you'll see his body. He's just a big mature deer, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting an encounter on him. But still, no daytime pictures of buck at all. No daytime walkers at all. So it's going to be.
And that's what you wait for.
Yeah, we need a front.
That's what you wait for. So
gotta have weather.
Well, we'll see how it goes. But got some turkey opportunity. When's the GMU you're in over there? When's that turkey?
I think it goes through like December 15th. It goes late.
Yeah.
And it's the bag limit. So. The bag limit, like even if you killed your spring bird or your 2 spring birds or whatever you get, the bag limit in the fall starts over.
Yeah, you can come over and get 2.
And so
I made me make it a drive.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's for most part of it, it's either sex.
Yeah.
I mean, you can definitely put a bird on the table for Thanksgiving.
And you got plenty of them over there.
Oh yeah, we actually, my son there a couple weeks ago harvested a really nice tom with a 9-inch beard.
Yep.
And we figured somewhere between 20 and 25 toms in the food plot. So.
Well, then I'm coming over. I got a lot of time off in December. That first week is wide open. I think I'm going to go get me a turkey.
Right. When I punched in the food plots and started doing all that work, turkey was not on the mind, but apparently it's very good habitat for turkeys also.
There's plenty of them there. So I think me and Shotgun are going to come over. Sherry and I may come for a drive, and might just have to crash on the floor in the cabin.
Yeah, and we've done it in the past over there where it's a glorified grouse hunt. Just go for a drive and hang out and crank the music up and get your turkey on the side of the road and hop out and harvest your turkey.
I'm not above that.
Right. Hey, it's legal. Do what
all
you
right,
gotta do.
Before we jump out for a break, hey, we're going to announce the winner of our photo contest. Lots of folks jumped on there. We had a ton of great photos. Lots of deer photos, lots of great fish photos. Logan Witt, age 15. Did you see that blacktail that young man put down? Holy smokes. And his dad went on to give us a little information on young Logan, who wins a FHN hat of color of your choice. Just get on there and message us, Dad or Logan, and Sherry will hook you up, get you that hat for Logan. Well done. This was his 6th buck. Wow. At age 15, along with 2 black bear and a moose in a Washington youth hunt that he's gotten so far. So, would be nice for his dad to adopt me and bring me up hunting, because I didn't grow up hunting. So, well done, Logan. That is a fantastic buck. Sure, your dad is very proud of you, and got a hat coming your way. So, thanks to everybody that jumped on, entering photos for the contest. We're going to do some more. Jarrod Katie is here tonight. He brought in a bunch of Getm Dry jigs, both coho twitchers and, of course, a lot of his steelhead jigs, as we're coming up on steelhead season, of which, by the way, I have seen probably no less than 10 steelhead photos this week.
Yeah.
So the fishing's a little tough, but guys are scratching out steelhead. Some of them are like, is this a winter run or a summer run? I'm like, well, it's kind of snaky, so you make the call. But it's nice to see that there's some steelhead around in some of our local streams. That's already taken off. So, okay, we got more contests coming up. We'll give away jigs and hats and stickers. We'll put a nice prize pack together. We'll announce that soon. Going to jump out for a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be right back here in studio. Jarrod Katie is in the house tonight. We got a lot of questions for that young man. He's got a lot of things going on. And we're going to find out what he's up to when we come back right here on FHN.
At Metal Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Harmon Brewery. Hey, welcome back, FHN. In studio here, Dwayne England, Kelly Barnum, and of course, our two in-studio guests, Jarrod Katie, Getm Dry Fishing Company, and Larry Phillips, WDFW. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Wayne.
You guys got your mics on?
Yep, I think so.
We're all good, Dave?
Yeah.
Number 2.
Are you turned on?
Was I supposed to turn it on?
Yeah.
I'm sure be on.
It happens.
Yep.
Kelly?
I'm not on. I'm on.
Huh. All right, we'll figure it out. All right, Jarrod, long drive for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was.
Yeah.
Not exactly. So you're out here, this coastal area, fishing for pretty much the remainder of the fall, and you roll right into winter run.
Yeah, I'm here fishing salmon in December, and then pretty much start fishing for steelhead as they start to show up, which they're already starting to show up, so that's nice.
Yeah.
And it's getting exciting, so fish all the way through April after that.
So you got a few things that occupy your year. Before we jump into your fall and winter fishing, because the remainder of the year you're off doing some other things, obviously, but your jig company, when did you start that?
I probably started that probably 14 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, 12, 14 years ago, back in college when I was guiding, just starting guiding. You
went to college?
I know.
To become a fishing guide?
I went to college.
Where'd you go to
fishing
school?
guide. South just down here in Olympia.
Okay, all right.
Went there, played soccer for them, and then started guiding in Washington right out of, just right in college there, and started the jig company there because I was using jigs for guiding, and then it turned into, well, can you make these on a bigger production level? And then turned into, well, I need help.
Yeah.
And so I got some help, and it's blown up from there, and I just pretty much based it all off of my guiding, using what I'm fishing every day, and selling to clients first, and then it turned into stores, and it's just been growing ever since.
Well, it's a great testing ground. I mean, you're creating product, you go out and test it for a while, and you're like, oh, this works, and then you know, constantly coming out with different color patterns. And do you know how many steelhead jig color combinations you produce now?
I have 96 SKUs.
Do you really?
Yeah.
96, and you've named every one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it get difficult to name them after like that?
You know, the girlfriends I've had, they're just like, hey, come up with something good with this. And it's pink and purple and whatever. And,
then you started your line of twitching jigs a few years ago.
Yeah.
What, maybe 5 years ago? Or
probably, I've been twitching for about a dozen years.
Yeah.
So I kind of came out with twitching once it really started to gain public popularity. No one really pushed it as a guide early on. So we kind of kept that. And then public found out about twitching. It's like, all right, well, it's time.
Time to sell jigs.
Yeah. So, and just started developing colors, and choker series started looking. When I developed that choker series, I went to the aquarium and I looked at squid.
Did you really?
Yeah, I looked at squid, looked at colors, went squidding. We were just talking about squidding and how many different colors a squid can change under threat, and how they can just change, and really looked at those colors and how they moved in the water, and tried to base a lot of stuff through that. And that just comes from my fly fishing, Everything's got to be real buggy and lifelike. It matched the hatch scenario. So, because
you were probably one of the first guys relative to a twitching jig to put the rubber legs on and the different colors of rubber on, incorporated into the marabou and other things you're putting on those jigs. I think I didn't see anybody else doing it. So, not that I know of. And I did just want to create more movement, show more movement, and that means more lifelike. So you those come in what, a 3/8 and a half ounce, or? Yeah, I'm doing half ounce now. Oh, so yeah, Sportco's got the first half ounce heads coming in, so started doing that, and I'm producing more and more guys want half ounce. I've always used 3/8 for my own guiding. Because I feel it fishes a little differently. But the average bank guy wants a half ounce. So. You doing any rounded heads, or are you still doing like the bullet head? All bullet heads. Yeah. You like the way that moves more than a bullet or than a rounded head? It cuts the water a lot differently. Yeah. You have a lot more erratic motion through a darter head or a bullet head. Yep. And then the way it falls is differently too. Yeah. It can fall pretty fast, depending on how much material I put on it. And then it just moves a lot differently. It's super erratic compared to a round ball that will run a lot more true. It just goes pretty much up and down. Yeah. And it's all based on your cadence, right? But I know that Steelhead you're using in clear water, you can watch it. It doesn't just drop straight down. It's always going to one side or the other. Right, yeah. Depending on if the current's pushing it or how your line tension is or isn't. And yeah, it creates a lot more side to side as well as up and down. I find too with that darter head in current, like if I'm specifically fishing fast current under structure, with that darter head I can get right in there and then fish through it. With a round ball, I'll never get anywhere close. It just gets pushed in a different way from water. So obviously, true to yourself, you started fishing half ounce and decided to start putting those out in your lineup, for sale. Do you? I prefer fishing half ounce in a lot of conditions. I don't know. I feel like I have a lot more reaction with it. I don't know. It's you've been fishing 3/8 forever. What do you think about the half ounce? Half ounce. I mean, I like it. I fish. My kind of general rule is anytime I'm fishing 10 feet and deeper, I'm going to use half ounce. Okay. It's going to keep my guys in there longer. Yeah. And you're trying to almost swim the jig through the water column and not swim it up. Yep.
a lot of the places on the peninsula, we fish, 4 feet of water twitching into log jams with back eddies. They don't get real deep stuff all the time.
Sure.
So that's why I end up using 3/8 more. The half ounce, you can cast it farther.
Oh, yeah.
You can cast in trees a lot farther, too.
Yeah, just
I mean,
lose a few more.
My clients, when I switch back, because I carry multiple rods with 3/8 and then one with half ounce, because every spot's different.
Yep.
So I switched from 3/8 to half. And if I don't tell my clients that
hey,
you just went on to that's the half ouncer, boom, it's gone. So you gotta be careful with that. But it moves along bottom differently. The one thing about it versus the 3/8, it falls faster. It's heavier.
Yeah.
So if you're fishing current, it can be really good for that.
I agree. So you spend your summers completely out of here. You can't find you anywhere around here in the summertime.
Yeah.
When do you head to Montana? When do you come home?
So I usually arrive in Montana around the 15th of May. That's our runoff's just going to start. We get a little pre-fishing, pre-runoff, depending on our snowpack over there. I'm in the Yellowstone area. Yep. So the town of West Yellowstone's where I base out of with Big Sky Anglers. There's a big operation we have there in the Golden Stone Inn Lodge. And so I start there middle of May, and then salmon flies, the big stolen fly hatches really start mid-June, run all the way through July. Your big mayfly hatches will happen all of July. Green drakes, gray drakes, July and June. August, hopper fishing, and then September is elk season.
Which then you just pretty much stay over there because you got your place over there in Montana.
Yeah.
Right? But it's on the border because you hunt Idaho.
I do. I hunt Idaho, Montana, and Washington.
Yeah.
So if I draw Montana, that's awesome. Right. I didn't draw it this last year, but I drew it the year before. Sure. And so I hunt them all. Yeah. And I hunt with a lot of buddies over there and call for a lot of buddies.
Yeah, you do. The outfitter that you're guiding on your fly trips all summer is who?
Big Sky Anglers.
Big Sky Anglers.
Yeah.
How long you been with them?
Well, this is our 3rd year in business.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was with West Yellowstone Fly Shop.
Oh, yeah.
Which is one of the partners in Big Sky Anglers now. Okay. So, yeah.
All right. And because you spent so much time over there, you and Dad decided you're going to start hunting over there. And and you got a nice little place over there. And like you said, you spend your entire fall. How many days were you there at the cabin for elk season?
For like 20. Well, I think I hunted 24 days. Yeah. Out of September.
Good number of encounters, bugling bulls every day.
We had a lot of encounters. I think we got our first answer during scouting on August 28th. Wow. And then we had a bugle the bull every day until the end of the season. Yeah. So there's great numbers of bulls, and it's been pretty good over there. It's pretty fun. A lot of cameras.
Any bear encounters this year?
Just black bears. Yeah. Knock on wood, because man, you hear about all the stories.
Oh yeah.
There's 3 bear attacks in the month of September, and they're all, 100 miles from me, and it's the whole Yellowstone ecosystem. That's the hot spot.
Oh, you're right there. I mean, it's we've talked about it. You definitely, to encounter a grizzly would not be too far-fetched.
And you see the tracks. I see all the marking trees every day, all the time, and especially when it snows in those last 2 weeks of September. Then you really find out what's there. Oh, yeah. Because you don't necessarily see them, or you bump that one thing that you never saw. And it's like, that didn't sound quite like a hoof when it left.
It sounded like a lot of big trees were breaking, right? Yeah. About wolves. Any wolves?
Hear them once in a while. Yeah. But believe it or not, in some of the areas I'm hunting, it just doesn't seem like you see the random single male coming through or something. Mm-hmm. Lone male. But being even that we're in the hot spot of Yellowstone, we don't see a lot of wolves. I see them when I'm in the park guiding. Yeah. I see them all the time when I'm doing that.
What about on your trail cams? Any wolves or bears?
Never caught a wolf on trail camera.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
With where you're at?
Yeah, I know.
No kidding.
I know, and I got a lot of cameras up. I got cameras on every mountain in my whole area. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And bears, I've caught like one grizzly, and the rest are all black bears.
Okay. Cats?
So, no. Never seen a cat other than 2 years ago at 15 yards.
Do you have trouble with the bears eating your cameras?
I've lost one.
It's been like
What kind of
He
batteries?
destroyed the whole tree to get it off too.
Right.
Yeah.
What kind of batteries did you have in it?
I don't even remember.
Oh, that's a thing we're kind of running because I've done some research on the bears eating it. Alkaline batteries, they say, compared to like the lithium ones, that the alkaline batteries or the bears are attracted to the smell of alkaline, but all I know is you do all the precautions to stay scent free on your camera, and the bears still got to eat it.
Yeah. I lost one where it took all the bark off the tree to break the cable.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you're staying very busy with all your guiding throughout here, Washington and Montana, and your jig business is doing fantastic. You can find them Sportsman, Sportco.
Local here, Dennis Company has them.
Yeah.
The Monty 76, the Chevron both have them.
Right.
And then Sportco sends them out to a lot of the mom and pops that I don't even know where they're at.
Sure.
I hear there's a handful of stores down by the Cowles.
And you can get them online.
Yeah, and you can get them online off the website too.
Yep.
At getmdry.com. So.
Real quick, give them your website.
Getmdry.com.
Getmdry.com. Getm as in G-E-T-M.
M.
Not E-M.
No, not E-M.
Yeah.
If you put it in there, you'll find it anyway. If you put it in
It comes up. It comes
Yeah.
up. All right, good, man. We are going to delve into your fishing season a little later in the show, so make sure you stick around for that. We're going to talk coho, going to talk early season steelhead, just around the corner, some of the things Jarrod's doing to get ready for that. But before we get there, a few other things to get to. That pheasant recipe is one you guys are going to want to pay attention to. Larry, you go shoot pheasants, don't you?
I don't now. I spent lots of time chasing pheasants.
Well, you need to get back to it.
I fish.
Chris is a buddy of yours, right?
Chris is a good buddy of mine.
He's kind of the pheasant guy.
He kind of is.
Jesus. Just have him bring a bird to the house.
That's right.
Let it go in your backfield. Maybe you can pull the trigger.
Fishing, right?
Huh?
It competes with fishing.
I know. Too many choices. All right. We're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We're going to be in the kitchen with Chef Kelly and Sherry for the recipe of the week, pheasant satay. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on FHN.
At Metals Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Fish Hunt Northwest. Yes, we're here in the kitchen again this week with Chef Kelly, and he's giving me a hard time, and yeah.
We're making pheasant satay, okay?
Not sauté,
yes,
satay.
Satay, okay. And we're gonna make a peanut sauce to go along with it.
Okay.
All right. So first let's work on the satay marinade, okay? So we're gonna go with about 1/2 cup of coconut milk, about 2 teaspoons of fresh garlic.
And you said don't skimp on the coconut milk, like it matters.
Oh, yeah. What I'm talking about is buy a good brand. I love this brand. This is probably my go-to brand. It's a little more expensive, but it has way more flavor than some of the cheaper brands. You'll see some like, oh, this one's on sale for half off. There's a reason why it's half off, okay? It's just...
What about the fat-free kind?
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. There's yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
it's okay, Chef.
All right, so there's about a tablespoon of brown sugar and a tablespoon of red curry paste, about another tablespoon of rice vinegar. There, needs to be a little tangy.
Okay.
About a tablespoon of turmeric. Watch out with the turmeric.
Which will stain.
Oh yeah, that's. I have stuff that's completely stained forever and all eternity because of turmeric.
Well,
Very good
I'm
for
sure
you.
I'll find some stuff on my counters or...
Me? Never. I
When
know
you-
what you're talking about. I am completely innocent. I am the cleanest chef you have ever worked with.
Okay, yeah. Maybe the cleanest chef I've ever worked with. That could be true. You're the nicest.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I don't know what I'm going for there. But
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we cut our pheasant into like 3/4 inch, 1 inch strips, like there, you know. And we're just gonna let this marinate. And I am not going to touch that.
Seems to be some fat on there.
Yes,
left.
and you know,
Yeah.
you want to leave some of that fat. Don't completely trim this off. Pheasant fat is perfectly fine. It's not like duck or goose fat, which kind of is, you know,
because
a
it's
little
so
bit gamey.
lean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Grab that.
this guy needs to marinate for about 2 hours. So I went ahead this morning and started that and screwed these all up. So go ahead and set that aside.
Okay.
So we have some already go right here. And so we are going to saute these because not everybody has a grill, so we wanted to show you that you could saute them.
So you would grill them on a normal basis?
Oh yeah, normally
Yeah.
we would grill them, but you know, I don't know how many times that you've ever grilled something with a skewer, and the skewers burn and
Right.
all that stuff. Boy, I love to smell that coconut.
Yeah, it does smell good.
Right? And actually, the traditional way of
You done with this?
saute, yeah. The traditional way of sauteing these, sometimes people would take coconut milk and then cook it till it breaks, because you can break full fat coconut milk and the fat will come out, and then you saute them in that. And that's a great technique too. I like that a lot.
Oh,
Okay. So,
those won't take long, will they?
no, I mean, they're pheasant. You know, they're really super lean. So we're just going to set this aside. Okay, so while that's working there, we're going to work on the sauce. So we're going to take a little bit more of that coconut oil here.
Do you need this?
I got one with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Let that render down for a second. Just kind of watch our. Make sure that, you know, you saw I put some brown sugar in here, so there's a little bit of sweetness to there. So these can burn. So just kind of keep an eye on them, flip them a couple times. Make sure they're not getting too dark.
Okay.
Okay. So our coconut oil is melted. Okay. So now, where's my curry paste? Ah, there he goes.
Oh,
so a tablespoon
I took
of
it away.
curry paste, about a tablespoon of garlic, about 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. This should be a little bit slightly sweet.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, so now we're just going to saute this up. And we're just trying to get toast the garlic and the curry paste so it's not so raw tasting. Okay? And the other thing I like to also cook off is my fish sauce. And so we're adding a little bit
About
of...
how much you going to put in there, Chef?
Exactly. 1 tablespoon.
8 shakes.
Yes, that's
I think I
exactly.
counted 8.
Uh-huh. There we go.
All right.
Okay, so now we're gonna add about a cup of coconut milk. I'm gonna reserve just a little bit.
Okay.
Just in case I want to thin it down just a little bit.
So this is a peanut sauce.
Yes.
So can you substitute like cashews or something unless they're completely allergic to every nut?
Yeah, absolutely. You can use, I'm adding about a quarter cup of finely chopped up peanuts.
Okay.
And so yeah, they make cashew butter, which we're going to add about 2 tablespoons. I'm going to make one big heaping tablespoon here.
Okay.
Okay. Now traditionally,
And that's creamy peanut butter?
yeah, traditionally they wouldn't use peanut butter. They would just use straight peanuts. I just like the flavor better when I can really have
maybe
that
the smooth texture of it. And
yeah, and then have the peanuts in there. To kind of give it. So maybe you should probably substitute chunky peanut butter, and just call it good.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Guess you could.
Here, take that. Okay, so as you can see, we're getting kind of on the thicker side. I'm glad I reserved a little bit of this extra coconut milk, just kind of thin it down. Okay, and another thing I also add just a little bit is a little bit of toasted sesame seeds.
Toasted ones.
Yeah, they come, some come already toasted. I like that, or you can toast them yourself, whatever you like.
Yeah, I was going to say, usually you like to toast them yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And it still looks like, check on our satays, make sure we're not getting too crispy. Oh, they're perfect.
So good.
Perfect. Okay, so the last ingredient we're going to add is tamarind concentrate. Now, tamarind concentrate is a very traditional ingredient in Thai. Mexicans use it a little bit, so I use about 2 tablespoons. Tamarind concentrate. You want to try some?
Do I trust you?
Come on now, you gotta trust me sometimes.
Okay, you first, straight out.
Yeah.
All right, you first, and then I'll go.
Okay. Here's one for you. One for me. Go.
That's not bad.
Not bad, because I has a
But
little.
it is sour.
It's sour, right?
Okay, the aftertaste maybe. Oh, but I can see where it adds just a tang to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where your sourness comes from.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we're ready to play.
Well, okay.
So we have our peanut sauce right there. Traditionally, with the peanut sauce, they will dip cucumbers, they'll dip herbs, all kinds of stuff.
So this is just some English cucumbers?
Yeah, this is just some English cucumbers. And we're just going to arrange our satays like this. Meh. Hey now.
Messy boy.
Okay, and then just a little bit of garnish of some cilantro on there, and a little bit of our chopped peanuts, and we're good to go.
Wow.
Easy peasy,
Smells
great.
and looks incredible.
There you go, guys. Easy peasy, right?
So this is
Pheasant satay with peanut sauce.
All right.
There you
Well,
go.
I am really digging into this one.
Right?
Yeah.
Keto.
It is. Actually, yeah, the peanuts are a little bit high, but
Okay.
we can work with that.
Right.
Okay. All right, while we start enjoying this, we're going to go ahead and throw it back to you guys in the studio. I can definitely.
Well, there you go for you non-pheasant hunters. If you do go out and bag a bird, that recipe is worth
Yeah.
giving it a try. It was fantastic. That's like the second or third pheasant recipe Chef's done since we've been doing the show, Barnum. I remember he started off with those pheasant wontons.
Yeah.
Those were a little involved, but I tell you what, if you got time, go back and check out that pheasant wonton recipe as well. Flipping amazing.
Right.
I mean, really good. You do much bird hunting?
I have done a lot of bird hunting.
Yeah. Yeah. Pheasants?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've
You've been over to
hunted-
Miller Ranch.
Yeah, I've hunted just about every bird there is.
Perfect.
In North.
Ostrich? You put down an ostrich?
Close.
Okay. Close.
Talked about it on a drunken night.
Yeah. It was an emu.
Yeah.
He's running around with some guy in a yellow shirt, but took 2 shots at him. But,
Yeah.
perfect. All right. Going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We are going to get you talking about Coho.
Sounds good.
Sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
A lot of discrepancies out there, a lot of questions, lots of frustration. No worries. Larry's here to calm the waters. What Larry says is word. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about this preseason forecast, where the where the Coho fishing is at currently, and why we're kind of in this predicament we're in. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on FHN.
At Metals Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals. So we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Hey, welcome back to FHN. Dwayne England, Kelly Barnum, and our in-studio guest this evening, Jarrod Katie, and of course, Larry Phillips, longtime friend, WDFW Region 6 Director. You know, I've been friends with you so long, I've forgotten how many promotions you've actually earned throughout the course of your career. Back in the radio days, you were the inland fisheries manager, and we do a periodic weekly or every other weekly check-in with you, talk about all the fisheries throughout the entire state of Washington. So good stuff.
Yeah, it was fun.
Good stuff. Now you wear a little bigger hat.
It's a little more complicated these days.
Yeah, a little more politics.
A little more politics.
A little more politics involved in your position. But one thing that you definitely have a great understanding on is forecasting and trying to wrap your head around how do we come up with factual numbers as close as we can to what we truly think how these runs are going to perform this year. And going into 2019 fall season, all indicators were, hey, we're going to have an amazing coho fishery. Everybody was talking about this abundance of coho that were out there, to the tune of about 1 million coho coming back to the Columbia, which is a true benchmark of a lot of things. The projections for the Puget Sound fishery look strong, which gets a lot of folks excited for all the, even the terminal fisheries, for all our bank angler friends out there. So there was a lot of excitement. A lot of people buying licenses, a lot of people buying gear, and in anticipation of this great season that was, gonna be coming. And there wasn't a lot of talk about the Chinook fishery. It was going to be okay. And as it turns out, in some regards, the Chinook fishery was pretty amazing. That lower Columbia River fishery for the 20 days it was open was just phenomenal. The early season in Puget Sound for Chinook fishing in some areas was absolutely ridiculous on some days, and relatively good throughout season. And then people started kind of going, well, where's the coho? How come I'm not getting really into the coho? And then they kind of readjusted the forecast for Columbia River. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we hit that middle of September, just the day after the Everett Coho Derby. And thanks to all those involved in that negotiation process to keep it to a 2-fish limit until we got through that Derby. I mean, you're talking 1,800 people, that had paid money, and lots of sponsors and lots of stuff going on there. So we kept it at a 2-fish limit up until the day after that Derby, and then we saw that first hit to Puget Sound, to where we went to 1 fish. So that kind of was the handwriting on the wall to maybe make folks go, well, maybe some things are going on with this coho fishery. So let's back up and talk a little bit about how do we arrive at, let's say, this year's coho season. How do we project the numbers that we had?
Yeah, thanks, Dwayne. It's forecasting in general poses a challenge to scientists. I mean, when you're looking at setting seasons based on a preseason expectation and the importance of those accurate forecasts for not only meeting our conservation objectives, but for providing opportunity for people to fish up and down the coast and into Puget Sound, into Columbia. So the accuracy of those forecasts is critical and is paramount to us meeting our conservation objectives and also providing those opportunities. So forecasting, the tools we have available to us are numerous, and it's quite an involved process, right? That process starts with understanding how many spawners produce smolts in the river. Coho are unique in that they all come back at the same time. They don't have what's called siblings that come back. Chinook salmon will come back as 2-year-olds, jacks, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, and some rare occasions 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
Alaska Kenai.
Which we've talked in the past, it makes it very tough to forecast because you can have a class of fish that's just scattered, and you don't know exactly how many 3-year-olds are going to come back, and then how many of those out of that brood are actually going to be a 4-year fish. Coho, as you've told me before, you can set your watch to. They're a 3-year fish. It's a year and almost a half in river. They go out to the ocean, and that 3-year benchmark hits, they come back. And I'm like, you're telling me when I'm fishing on my beloved Satsup and I catch a 6-pound coho, and forecasts later I catch an 18-pound coho, they're the same age of fish, same class of fish.
You're correct.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the in-river, there's really 2 pieces of a coho forecast, because as you pointed out, they do have a reliance and a longer maturation process inside, or they occupy upstream habitats for about a year and a year and a quarter. So those fish will obviously rear, they spawned, they put the eggs in the gravel, those fish hatched out and they reared. So the question is how many are out migrating? How many of those fish are leaving the freshwater environment, head into the marine environment? So we've got traps, fish traps and smolt collection traps throughout Puget Sound, throughout the coast and on the Columbia River. So we use the tools there to calculate productivity, the number of smolts that are leaving the freshwater environment. Okay, that's one portion. So that's a check, right? Saw this many spawners.
On some of our Puget Sound rivers, have you guys seen on occasion on certain years an uptick in survivability and better recruitment on like following a humpy year?
There's certainly productivity is associated with marine-derived nutrients and insect production and all those things. We also know that can be an adverse effect on them, like we had in 2015 when we had really low warm water.
Yeah.
So that can have a significant impact on coho.
Sure.
But you can document that, right? You can go to the smolt counters and the traps, and you can document how many fish survived through that year and a half and how many fish are out migrating in the springtime into the marine environment.
Yep.
So then those fish hit the marine environment and they leave. They go west coast of Vancouver Island and north. They rear, and then about a year and a half or so they come back. And that fall of the third year of the brood year that they respond, they come back. And there's a variety of different tools that the agency uses and can use to assess marine survival. So, and those include a variety of different metrics. And there's academia, there's the federal government, there's tribal and state research that's going on that looks at a variety of different what we call indices or indicators, marine survival indicators. The more popular ones that come to mind are decadal oscillation, sea surface temperature. There's a bunch of different assessments of forage availability, different types of copepods that feed forage fish that in turn feed juvenile and adult salmon. And then there's a big one for us, and that is the NOAA nearshore assessment, juvenile assessment that happens every spring. Okay, and that's what happened in 2018 that got everybody so excited about the 2019 adult return.
So the spring of 2018, they do a net process where they are basically capturing these juvenile fish to check population density, so to speak.
Exactly.
Right? And because of those numbers in spring of 2018, it gave high hope and anticipation for the return of adults in 2019. These are out migrating, the outbounding juveniles, correct?
These are juveniles that have hit the marine environment, that have made it down, and these are correlations that we look at.
Sure.
So later, after this year's return happens, this year's adult return happens, we'll look back at those data points, right? And we'll say what were closely correlated with survival. Which of those indices can we look at as a strong indicator of how well the population or how well the returns are going to come back in the future? And that juvenile abundance assessment, nearshore assessment that's done from Newport all the way up to Neah Bay has historically been a very good predictor of what we anticipate in terms of predicting adult returns. We can assess a survival rate based on that metrics, in addition to others.
Well, which makes sense because they've left the estuary water. You know, they've outbounded from the river. They've gone through estuary. Now they're out there in that area. How many days does this go on? I mean, how many days are they out there on the water gathering this data?
Yeah, I'm not sure specific of that, but what I can tell you is that the data that we collected, that was collected by the research folks, was the second highest that we've ever recorded in 22 years of using that method for assessment.
2018 was the second highest ever recorded in the past 22 years. Okay.
And so what we know is the first highest, which was in 2013, subsequent to the 2014 return that was so large, was 1.2 million coastal coho returned that year, adults.
Yep.
So all indications from the assessment done, from the folks looking at in-river survival, the marine component, the decadal oscillation. Remember, too, we had the warm water off the coast in 17 that really caused some problems.
Oh, yeah.
Spring of 18, we see that starting to dissipate.
Yep.
And subsequently, we see some real challenges with survival.
Well, we were talking at dinner before the show. You know, that warm water, albeit guys out tuna fishing and catching all these strange, not normal fish for our general area, coming up from California, moving up the coast with the warm water. There's a lot of high-fiving and high spirits going on in those boats out there. But for an inland guy, and when you're sitting here thinking about our anadromous fisheries, that for me is always a red flag of concern, because I'm like, if we got that much going on with weird species of fish migrating north, and some of them actually carrying those warm currents all the way up towards Canada as they come past Washington here, that can't be good for our ocean conditions. and it can be good for the anadromous survivability, and I'll be very curious to see what unfolds. And to a point, as you had mentioned, the warmer water in 2017 was detrimental to the true survivability. Once you got past that test period of those juvenile fish, you're like, oh, hey, the numbers are great. But what happens once they get out there, get to the ocean, that survivability is such an unknown and so unpredictable with what we've seen. 2015, 2016, blob. 2019, here we are. We were talking blob a couple months ago, but it looks like we got the northern push of cold air and upwelling or upswelling of currents that's going to kind of mix it up. Maybe it won't be as bad. But now I'm beginning to truly think that all this effort that we put in, and we have great anticipation and high hopes based on science of our outbounding juveniles, but yet once we get to that ocean, there's so many factors and unknowns, we just really can't gauge it. Do you guys put in percentages, bumpers, if you will, something that would quantify for the unknown ocean environment?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that, and I don't know I don't know what the number was that we put into a buffer this year. Certainly we are pretty cautious about that. And in particular, we have been in recent years for Chinook on the Columbia. If you look at the buffers we put in there for spring Chinook fisheries and fall Chinook fisheries, because of our challenges with forecasting. And, it's not an exact science, Dwayne. The only way we're going to accurately forecast a return is if survival's constant.
Sure.
And we know that's not the case. Yep. Survival's variable. And survival can be exponentially variable. It can variability can be from, if you think about fall Chinook, for example, a good survival rate for fall Chinook for our hatchery program can be, 0.5% of survival. That's a good one. But we can see it as low as 0.15%, 0.15%, or as high as 1%.
Right.
So you're always playing catch up, right? Because what you're doing is you're usually applying recent year survival rates to whatever brood year is contributing to this year's return. Again, for Chinook, we've got 3, 4, and 5-year-old fish returning. So if you've got fish from 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and 5 years ago, those fish have experienced different environments, right? Different environmental conditions. And you don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, right.
If you've got coho that all return at the same age, they've experienced that really, all of those fish have experienced those same environmental factors together.
Yep.
Because we know that in river survival was decent, at least it appeared to be pretty good. We calculated that the smolts that spawned in 2017 that outmigrated in 2018, those fish that were going to return, 17, 18. Those fish where we're going to return in 19, they all experienced the same conditions, and in-river survival was pretty good.
Right.
They hit that marine environment, and something happened in the marine environment. We're
going to hold it right there. There's more I want to get into on this, so I think later in the show, a couple segments from now, we may forego the Chum How-To segment I was going to do because I want to peel back this onion a little more. Yeah. I want to do comparable as far as the Chinook versus Coho and the return this year. Maybe what the window of opportunity looks like is a narrowing for the next several weeks. A lot of questions still there. Guys, if you got questions relative to our Coho fishery, what's going on in season right now, perhaps if there's going to be any additional adjustments, known or unknown, fire them off here for Larry. We're going to come back on this topic here in a couple segments and kind of close the door on this so we have a good understanding as to truly what's going on with our Coho fishery this year throughout the state. But before we get to that, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back in, we'll be at the top of the hour for hour 2 on FHN. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. All right, welcome back to FHN. Hour 2 as we're kicking it off here, Barnum. We're going to jump back to some news you can use. Additional stories going on around the Puget Sound and beyond. And then we're going to get back with Larry because we got more Coho and Chinook returns of this year, 2019, to talk about. Keep the questions coming, guys. The screen's lighting up here. Love it. Just keep them going. We're going to get through this information, and we'll get back talking to Larry and Jarrod here in a second. So, hey, Barnum, there's an article I posted up on our Facebook page a few days ago that was a kind of a news release. Senator Ann Rivers is planning to introduce a bill in January looking for monies to support perhaps the first of its kind, a public-private co-op kind of a hatchery program. Larry, you might have a little insight on this or not, I'm not sure. But I found it interesting as I read through the article and a few other insightful pieces that I dug up on it. Looking for $2.5 million to determine the feasibility of a public-private hatchery in Bellingham. The hatchery be constructed next to Whatcom Creek Hatchery and is to be operated by the Bellingham Technical College. Now, if the research and data supports that this would be a good concept and everything looks like it's going to materialize, they would then seek 40 to 45 million to be appropriated to build this new hatchery. And of course, it'd be a state-of-the-art hatchery with the goals of producing an abundance of Chinook, more so than what they already kick out of Whatcom Creek. I'll get into those numbers here in a second. But kind of an interesting concept when you start mixing private and public.
Well, and I think this is probably a little bit of reaction to the agency not getting the funding they needed through the legislature to be able to do what they need to do. So now you have, which is kind of awkward, but now you have legislatures going, hey, we need to figure out different ways to fund and get more fish.
Which is
where if
awkward.
you just would have funded the agency to begin with, they probably could have ran their hatcheries at full capacity. But it's an interesting thing, and to correlate it with a college where you could have students with a potential to learn and create an education and maybe a career off of that.
Well, it gets even more complex when you back up and think about all the efforts that have gone into Inslee and his task force and the amount of monies that they were trying to allocate and in some regards did get through the budget process to say, but that's separate from WDFW's operating budget. This is the Orca Task Force. Here's the money we need for XYZ percentage increase on Chinook plants. Here's the net pen raised fish. Here's the percentage of increase we want to see on our smolt plants, all in the with the goal of saving the orca, right? So this kind of ties in with that. They're looking for that money to build this facility because the legislator had already, again, outside of the operating budget, $12.9 million. 2019 to 21 to increase hatchery production by 19%, resulting in 24 million additional Chinook. In 2019 to 21 capital budget, allocate 40 million more for improvements to state hatcheries, a 20% increase, which is a substantial bump when we're talking about hatchery improvements. But this is an additional amount of money on top of that, specific to a project that would develop and build the first private public hatchery, produce an additional Chinook. But I find this interesting, and I'm going to read this. Rivers' proposed hatchery operation, Rivers as in Senator Rivers, would release 1/3 of the smolts being released directly from Bellingham. Another third would be taken to a year-round stream in the San Juan Islands, where the smolts would be kept in net pens to imprint the young fish so they return as adults to spawn. The rest of the hatchery smolts would go through the same procedure elsewhere in the San Juan Islands. So Larry, you could probably answer this. They're going to net pen, rear those fish for imprinting, release them as smolt. Those fish are going to come back and naturally spawn in those rivers because there's not hatcheries there, correct?
Yeah, we recently heard about this as well. So the agency, we're still looking into it, trying to better understand what the what the details are. But clearly, we have commitments to conservation, and there's constraints around how we operate fisheries today that. We work with our partners, our tribal and federal partners, to make sure that our commitments to conservation, commitments to recovery, ESA, are met. So we're really at the learning phase of this as well.
Trying to see where this is at.
Exactly. So,
well, like I said, she's going to introduce this bill in January. So
it seems interesting to now, with everything we understand now about genetics of fish and trying to protect these genetic strains and everything else. Now we're going to take these large numbers of fish and imprint them in a water system and say, okay, this is a new run for here. Here you go.
Well, and that was my question. I'm like, exactly.
How does that compete?
How much have we talked about
there? Right.
How much have we talked about brood stocking within basin, right? And so, like talking with Art down at Point Defiance and recognizing the net pen program that's being established over there by Tacoma. It's if they do get some of those fish coming back and straying up into the Puyallup Basin, it's fine because those fish are actually genetically pulled from that strain of fish within that region. So you are brood stocking fish from within basin, and you're just rearing them in net pens so that when they come back to that region of Puget Sound, it's kind of like a blackmouth fishery, although these are outbounding migrant fish that are going to come back with really no destination other than that area 11 in Puget Sound for the orcas, right?
But knowing that life likes to find a way, if those fish do spawn, at least they're from that genetic makeup from that local area.
And you don't have Chambers Creek stock of fish getting seeded everywhere throughout Puget Sound and mixing up the strains and getting us into the genetic DNA mess that we're in now currently. So this one, that particular paragraph in this article, Larry, when I read it, I thought, how in the hell can they even do this? Knowing what we know, ESA restraints, and just saying we're going to take how many millions of smolts and put them in this creek, net pen rear them, and then release them, and then they're going to come back to this and natural spawn. It's fine if we lived in Michigan, but guess what? We don't. I mean, that's how they...
and I think a lot of this stuff is, you know, these legislatures have these grand ideas, and I think a lot of times that all the X's and O's and all the science hasn't been thought through yet. But that's why it's, you know, it's submitted to committee and they get to vote on it and see if they want to move it forward and or kick it back and say, you know, there's a lot that has to be figured out.
The current numbers, so the private group that would come in is San Juan Area Sea Life, a nonprofit coalition of local government, whale watchers, commercial fishing, and tribal interests. Albeit it's on record to say the Lummi Nation has participated in discussion, has not bought onto or into the concept as of yet. So they're just kind of listening, I would think, at this point. Whatcom Creek Hatchery releases 2 to 4 million smolts annually, sees about 64 to 72,000 return each year. It's a 1.6 to 1.8%, which is pretty respectable. They're anticipating, let's say this whole thing goes through, their target goal, it's going to take 10 years to get there, 40 million smolt. With 800,000 to 1.6 million returning adults, it's a 2 to 4% return. Those are big numbers with lofty goals. But
my understanding is most of those are chum.
Oh, is that right?
That's my understanding.
Well, that doesn't work because orcas don't eat chum, Larry.
So the good news, I mean, there's a lot of check.
They only eat wild Chinook.
Well,
We've had this discussion.
They certainly do in the wintertime when that's all that's there.
Correct. Yes.
There are a lot of check and balances, and we have a system of check and balances. And Dwayne, I think you know this. One of the challenges we had with our Puget Sound Steelhead program was with the hatchery genetic management plans that we have in place with the federal government that ensures that we operate our hatcheries in a way that's consistent with our commitments to ESA recovery. All hatcheries would be held to that same, Puget Sound hatcheries would be held to that same standard, and it would be required to look at how well they stack up with those commitments and reducing impacts to ESA listed fish. So lots for us to understand. I know we're committed to better understanding and making sure we're part of the conversation and making sure we're helping people make informed decisions.
Rightfully so. This stuff doesn't just go without WDFW checking the boxes. I mean,
the co-managers as well, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tribal co-managers.
Agreed. Barnum, there's a meeting coming up down at Willapa.
Speaking of hatchery and
production, Chinook and lack of, but what meeting date and open public meeting, right?
Meeting is scheduled. It's an open to public meeting, and it's to talk about the Willapa Bay hatchery facilities. Maybe a lot of you guys don't know, they're doing updates to the Forks Creek hatchery. I'm sure they'll have kind of some updates on what's going on there. And they're looking at potentially bumping up the Chinook smolts from the Willapa estuary, so Forks Creek, Nema, and Nacelle facilities combined, from 6.15 million to nearly 8.7 million fish. Now, this doesn't break down how those will be allocated, As you know, in recent years, because of hatchery reform, most of those fish have been planted down south and not as many up north.
Yeah.
And so I've heard rumors there's changes coming up north and they're going to start to bump the plants again up north, but I don't know that for sure. And I'm sure that maybe within the website or at the meeting, they will talk about allocations on what hatcheries are going to produce what. But that meeting is going to take place 6 to 8 p.m. Wednesday, November 13th at the Raymond Elks Lodge. 326 3rd Street in Raymond.
Okay.
So it's a fairly big building, so there's room for people in there, and you know.
Well, that change in the Willapa plan and how they're conducting those hatchery programs has been a point of contention for a lot of locals.
Yeah, we need the North Bay Chinook back.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
We need Forks Creek to start pumping out, you know, 1 million plus smolt so that we can get that run back, because that's a huge asset to the Raymond and South Bend communities. I mean, we need those returns to be able to consistently fish those North Bay waters.
I would think Brian Blake would have a way of making that happen. just if I have to throw a name out there.
Maybe like just a little bit on that. So the meeting, so recall the Southern Resident Killer Whale recommendations for production. We are going to have some challenges meeting those increased egg take goals. Yeah. When we planned for this season fisheries, when we planned for our exploitation rates, our harvest rates, we didn't have those numbers in place. Those were added later. So historically, we've had surpluses. We had some challenges this year with some mortalities at hatcheries. Both of those southern hatcheries, those facilities are dated, and we've got some issues there. We've got some major capital work being done to some of those. But the objective of this meeting with Chad and staff from my office is to collect information from folks on kind of, we've had a policy that we've implemented now for 5 years, 4 or 5 years. We know a lot more about the system now than we ever have. Sure. The changes that were made in the Willapa itself that was the primary, and you can learn way more than you probably ever wanted to know by going to our website and looking at the policy and attending some of those meetings. But really, the objective there is to keep us out of a situation like we have in Puget Sound, where we've got ESA listed fish, and that was the intent of the policy. And clearly, we're learning as we go here, and there's been some challenges with it. Reduction in fisheries and reduction in production at some of those facilities, but we've got a lot of support there. So from folks like Brian Blake, and we really appreciate that. And looking forward to getting public input and learning more about how to proceed there.
Well, I'm sure overwhelming tune in the room is going to be, we want more fish. Always. Always. That's going to be the thing. So I know that's part of your area that you oversee, Larry. So hats off to you. Hopefully it keeps improving. Hopefully we make some forward progress there. Finally, before we get out of here for a break, Barnum, there was a email and some information that came out this week from Wild Steelhead Coalition asking folks to take action on Puget Sound fish farms. The Cook aquaculture net pens that we're also familiar with up there with the Atlantic salmon escapement that happened, when was that, last winter ago or two? 2 years ago, believe, right? Yeah. So Governor Inslee and staff, they passed or signed a House Bill 2957 into law. The bill would ban non-native fin fish farming in Washington waters after 2022. Right. So in other words, what they're doing up there with those net pens would no longer be acceptable in Washington waters after 2022, because it's not a native species of our area. So Cook Aquaculture has taken the efforts to quickly ramp up their ability to rear and raise triploid steelhead as they're recognizing them. Figuring, steelhead are indigenous to the area, so we should have no problem, raising steelhead.
So similar to what's being done on the east side with the triploid programs over there.
So we refer to those as triploid rainbows, right? So, and everybody knows, I mean, those net pens, the Colvilles up there have done a pretty amazing job. They raise millions of pounds of fish. They have some escapees, and they willfully, as part of the program, they dump 1,800 fish a month or something into the Columbia River. Right. I can't remember the number exactly, but for recreational opportunity, they're dumping in those fatty triploids for us to go have an option to go get. Right. There was language in the article that basically had concern that not 100% of triploids are sterile. And if you had a breach and you had some escapees and these so-called steelhead found their way to a stream or river and perhaps would be one of the low percentiles that were not sterile and tried to spawn with wild steelhead, it would be problematic.
Right.
And I'm like, there's a lot of ifs there. And I'm not saying hey, what's the big deal? I mean, you and I have talked at length about fish farms, the amount of diseases that they can begin to develop because you have so many fish in close proximity.
Well, that's what I'm saying. On top of the risk of escapees and that, but also having tens of thousands of fish of that size, say 5-10 pound fish in one small area, and the amount of feces and contamination that's going into the water for an extended period of time, you don't see that anywhere in nature.
It's
like
not
fish
natural.
travel. They don't
normal.
sit in one area.
Yeah.
So the water quality issues downstream from that have to be serious. I mean, it have to be.
Well, and they've already proven some of the Canadian farms, the amount of sea lice, the effects it has on out-migrating fish that have to travel through that area, the abundance of bacteria in the water. There's a whole lot of things that are unknowns, and some are knowns, but this company feels like because they're going to change over to what they deem as a steelhead triploid, which I've never heard of a steelhead triploid, Larry. I mean, we're familiar with rainbow triploid, and they've been doing that program in the Upper Columbia for a long time. But this is out in Puget Sound where we have a lot of anadromous fish of all different species traveling through and coming by. And it just seems to me it's going to create obviously more problems than good. It's a private company taking advantage of using public waters for nothing but sheer profit gain at the
and grasping for straws at this point to try to keep their business alive. I mean, I'm a business owner. I understand it, but I mean,
there is a opportunity to get online. Just research or look up Cook aquaculture, or get onto the Steelhead Coalition, Wild Steelhead Coalition webpage. They got an article there that you can follow up on this. Comment period is open. Let WDFW know what you think about them having the opportunity to bring in these so-called triploid steelhead and rear those in our Puget Sound waters, because we just feel like it's, there's too many unknowns. And I know, Larry, we talked at dinner, and this is kind of one of those that you guys just kind of have to sit back and monitor. You just can't flat out say, well, no, you can't, because that's not the department's position.
Well, WDFW is the agency that's responsible for conducting SEPA, our State Environmental Protection Assessment.
Safe Environmental Protection Assessment, SEPA.
And so what happens with that process is we are going to use the best available science to help folks make informed decisions. Clearly, this is other state agencies are involved as well. Our staff, Ken Warheit, who's the head of our science geneticist, and other staff are looking into this and assessing risk, working with the co-managers clearly, working with Department of Ecology on water quality issues, assessing what you said. Department of Natural DNR is obviously would be, they own the bottom of the ocean, bottom of the Puget Sound, and they'd be the ones that would be the lease who Cook would have to lease from. So there's a lot of folks involved and conversations going on about making sure at the end of the day we're making an informed decision about risk, the risk this poses to natural resources that belong to the citizens of the state.
Good point. Okay, great topics, all relative to rearing fish and hatcheries and programs going on and things happening. And as Larry, when we talk, you're always, it's busy, man. There's a lot going on. There will be a lot going on till the day you retire. It's never going to slow down for you.
It's not boring.
All right. Great. We're going to forego the weather because we're running a little behind. We're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We're going to scroll back up here, get a lot of these questions for Larry on the table here, and get back to discussing this season's coho return based on the preseason forecast. And we're going to kind of tie that into how well, in some cases, the Chinook return did. And just kind of try to pull that all together, get you guys some understanding on what's truly happening with our coho fishery this season. And again, we're going to answer a lot of these questions, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here at FHN after this break.
At Metal Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
All right, welcome back to FHN. We continue the conversation relative to our Coho season and albeit some of our Chinook opportunity this year earlier in the fall. Again, Jarrod Katie, Larry Phillips, thanks for joining us tonight. Good conversation so far. You hanging in there, Katie? You need some coffee? Or?
I'd have half a cup already done.
Ooh. Okay.
We have to talk Coho, then we're going to have to get
you need a pillow and a blanket. Sherry will run one in here for you.
I got a pillow.
Huh? Oh.
So nice.
David's over there not doing much. He can give you a foot rub if you need. We'll get back to you in a little bit. We got more to talk about. That's
we got to figure out how to catch these Coho. That
there is that whole, if they're few and far between, we want to take opportunity when we get it. So, Larry, we kind of alluded to it earlier in the conversation, but mapping out your Chinook returns is a little more difficult because of the year component. Were there indicators that, if I remember right, the indicators for this season relative to Chinook was it's going to be an okay season? Again, ocean conditions being what they were, how do we get Chinook rebounding, well, not rebounding, but performing as they did versus the Coho? Is it that, as you alluded to earlier, the multi-year time that they spend out in the ocean, not all lumped into one season of survivability?
Well, they're different animals, right?
Yeah.
You've got Coho occupying different habitat in the ocean. Chinook are both, a portion of the population will stick around and be resident blackmouth. Some will head south. Some will head north. Most of them go north, and most of them go a distance north. They store closer to the near shore, as the word Coho can be offshore a little bit further. So they occupy different habitat for the most part. The tools we have to assess Chinook returns are similar. They don't have nearly the reliance on freshwater rearing because they outmigrate as fry. They're typically occupy the freshwater environment for a short period of time after hatching out, and then they outmigrate. They don't stick around for that whole year. Chinook do.
They outbound as fry.
They do.
So really, Steelhead and Coho are only in river
and spring Chinook. Some spring Chinook,
yeah.
So that's and it's obviously if you're a larger fish, then your susceptibility to predation and different types of mortality is lower than if you're a fry.
Sure.
But there's also that hedging your bets on in river rearing conditions being adequate or better than they would be. And salmon are really interesting. If you look at the different species of Pacific salmon, they all have a little bit of a partitioning in how they go about their life history. And it's because they've occupied that different niche. And it's sockeye, chum outmigrate immediately.
Right.
Sockeye rely on a lake.
Yep.
Chum salmon, again, another quick outmigrator.
Right.
Chinook a little less. Steelhead 2 years as outmigrants, typically a wild steelhead and then you've got sea run cutthroat that can do just about everything you can possibly think of. So our ability to forecast Chinook, we have some different tools for Chinook. We can use what we call a sibling forecast, and that would be, for example, the fish that outmigrated in 2015 came back as 3-year-olds in 2018, and that can be a precursor or a kind of a snapshot of what we might expect to see for the 4-year-old component going to return from that same brood year. So sometimes those relationships are strong, and we can look at past performance, how those returns came in, and how that 3-year-old component can be used as a predictor for a 4-year-old component. We use some of those things, and clearly we have blackmouth fisheries as well. You start to see, typically we don't use in-season updates from recreational fisheries like blackmouth fisheries, but clearly, the absence of fish in fisheries that we would predict to be decent can at least give us a little bit of a red flag.
How big of a component in factoring the following year's return is the abundance of jacks? You always hear fishermen saying, "Oh, we got a heck of a jack return this year. Next year's going to be outstanding for, next year's Chinook return should just be tremendous."
Again, you can use past performance. I mean, there's no better predictor of future behavior than past performance, right? So what you can do is you can look back at how well that jack return represented the subsequent return of, and historically for spring Chinook, it was a huge predictor. That's what they used in the Columbia. This many jacks typically equated to the next year's return of 3-year-olds. And for years we used that, and then we started seeing challenges with that relationship. And they use linear regression, and they can calculate an R-square, and they can predict how much variability can be defined by the number of 2-year-olds returning. And at some point that relationship fell apart, and it wasn't a good predictor. So we had to look to other tools. And I know that now, obviously the further along and the closer you are to the actual return, and the closer snapshot you can say, in-season updates are really good tools. In-season update would be a fishery. Our chum fishery in Puget Sound is managed through what we call an in-season update. We have a commercial fishery that takes place by stat week or management week, starting about a month ago or a couple weeks ago, and it's used as the catch by unit of effort or netting day as a predictor of what we can expect to see. And it tracks pretty well. But then again, you've got to sacrifice a fishery, right? You've got to have a fishery. And if your return is so low already, you've got to get yourself in the further through the return you get, of course, the larger portion of the return you're catching, and the better your ability to make that in-season adjustment. In the Columbia, we've got some tools down there. We've got dams, right? So you've got fish ladders, and those are a really good tool. But we also set seasons. We have seasons outside of the Columbia that take place in the summertime, particularly fall Chinook and Coho, that are based on those preseason expectations. So coming up with an accurate preseason forecast is really, really, really important to us as an agency.
So let's address the elephant in the room, because I think we probably should. So the Coho for this year's return made it out of the river system fairly well. They seem to be abundant in the ocean, in the
least early on.
So how much of this shortfall of return could we potentially put on, say, sea lions or predation as they started to enter back into our estuaries and rivers? Because I know most fishermen think that we're losing a massive amount of fish to sea lions at this point.
So there's some work being done that looks at sea lion predation rates. There's seals and sea lions. Chasco, I think, is, for folks that are at home want to look up the report. If you go to our website as well, Nate Pamphlet is our policy. He's an expert. He was our wildlife program manager. Nate's really up on all the marine mammal stuff, and did an excellent presentation to the commission here a little while ago, and I think he's given it to Northwest Indian Fish Commission and some other folks that he's partnered with some of our researchers and other people out there to better understand what actually is happening. Are they making informed decisions? It's easy to say they're a problem, but what is the problem? How many adult are we losing? And there's some pretty compelling information out there. But in this instance, what's different this year than in the past years, right? Because we had those same things in place. The number of pinnipeds, seals, and sea lions hasn't changed that much since the 2014. I mean, it's gotten bigger, but certainly those mortalities were still there. Something happened from the spring of 2018 until the fall of 2019 that resulted in that relationship of those. Remember the NOAA fisheries doing the nearshore assessment,
Right.
which has provided us with a tool that we've used that's been pretty accurate when it terms of predicting what's coming back. That relationship fell apart. Something happened after that time frame.
Sure.
So what it is, you know, I'm sure the folks at Newport Lab, all the NOAA folks, our science staff, California, Oregon, are going to be looking at those and trying to figure out what the heck happened.
Something out in the ocean.
Something in the ocean.
You know, you'd have
I mean,
to
that's
assume,
what
but-
all indications are pointing at, something in the ocean that
I mean, I'm sure logically there's potential for, you know, a little higher percentage of the pinniped predation issues all around. I mean, we're seeing it everywhere. It's
Right.
on the radar of many folks, and Larry, you and I have talked, and some discussions, some serious discussions are happening as of late as to how to approach this monstrous problem. There has been some closures as of late. The whole Quileute system out there in the coastal region is shut down. Is that based off of lack of? I always assume it's based off of wild fish. I got to assume that staff has been out surveying rivers, upper stretches, and not seeing the spawner escapement that they would expect to see this time of year. Thus far, gives cause for concern. Indoors, a combination also of lack of hatchery fish returning to some of the hatcheries, or do they have egg take out there?
So I think we're going to be close to meeting our egg take objective. I talked to James Losey yesterday a little bit about it, so I think we're going to be close on that end. This is primarily a wild fish concern for us out in the Quileute system, but it's not unique to Quileute. Obviously, we've got some challenges. Earlier you mentioned the reduction in preseason run size versus the in-season update we did on the Columbia. I don't know where the latest one landed, but it was a pretty good reduction from where we initially started out at that million fish or so. I know we're going to have a conversation here real soon about the Willapa system as well. We're nowhere near what preseason expectation is, and all of those pieces together continue to point at the ocean. Right? Because once you look at Puget Sound, the Columbia, all of the coastal systems, and all of those systems that simultaneously have had this reduction in, failed to realize the preseason expectations, all point to outside factors that are pushing at it.
Well, yeah, I know the Puget Sound rivers are not performing as you would expect them to. There's a lot of old-timers fishing some of those rivers that my dad's in contact with, and he's like, they fished 4 or 5 days in a row, didn't touch a fish. I mean, and this isn't guys that are just like trying to figure it out. These are guys that know where they're at, what they're doing, and would expect to find fish this time of year, especially on a forecast that was presented as it was, albeit those rivers, you know, kind of took it in the shorts. You saw it coming with the reduction in retention out in Puget Sound as early as mid-September. So that was kind of maybe a little foresight of things to come. But those rivers aren't performing well. We got shutdowns out on the coast. We're going to evaluate what's going on in Willapa. Cady and I were talking earlier this evening, and you know we're wait for the other shoe to drop here in Grays Harbor because we are still at a 2-fish limit on wild fish on all of our rivers out here. And I'm pretty sure you guys have things in the works. I'm not going to throw you under the bus here, but pretty sure you got to be at least monitoring what's going on and try to make some decisions in the next week or two.
So we are in regular conversation with the co-managers. Clearly, we've got terminal net fisheries in those rivers, and those are really good indications of abundance. And you know, we have a excellent working relationship with both the Quinault tribe and the different folks there, and also the Quileute and all of the co-managers. But the ones we're monitoring right now in terms of Chehalis and Quileute system are those tribes. And you know, we're weekly meetings and talking about preseason expectations based on run size and where are we at, what do we think we need to do, how does this equate to fish on the spawning grounds. We're never going to sacrifice meeting our conservation objectives for opportunity.
Understood. And I think everybody would support you in that.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think that's it's the right thing to do. It's a tough pill to swallow. You know, I don't make my living off of being on the water, of fishing or commercial fishing, but clearly you guys know I bought a house and invested my recreation time, and
Yeah.
and I get it. I see the folks down in Ilwaco and in other places that when opportunity is closed, there's a real cost associated with closing fishing opportunities, particularly when we've set a preseason expectation of hey, things are going to be pretty good this year. So.
Right.
Everybody I work with takes that responsibility very seriously, and it's never an easy conversation to have when we've got to call up the Grays Harbor Guides Association or put out on social media that we're having some challenges.
Yeah.
And
we've had to do it before, 2015.
it doesn't make it any easier.
No, it doesn't. A lot of people get pissed off, but it's the right thing to do. And then hopefully we get the escapement goals are met. Where we get what we need in the upper stretches, and we can open it back up and and try to recover some of the season before it all finishes up. So, well, I know you guys got some tough decisions ahead of you just based on latest performance the last few days. Just hearing from guys out there on the water. Jarrod, it's been a little tougher here the last few days as it's continuing to get lower and clearer. And these warm days, it's just very uncharacteristic for November. I'm used to brown water and floods. I mean, by this time of year,
I don't think there's any normal anymore.
No,
if
there's
you look
really
at
not.
what we've dealt with in the last 3 or 4 years of these inconsistent dry periods and periods of downpour where we haven't had them. I mean, we had a big warm lot of rain here early this year.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the new norm is, but we got to get ready for that. And
we got a splash of rain coming, maybe 12th or 13th. We've got a little bump in the rivers coming. I think that's going to be a performance indicator. If we don't see a good little push of fish at that point, I think you guys got some tough decisions on your hands, to see how it's going to truly pan out here. So, okay, we are going to jump out for a quick break. Jarrod Katie is awake and ready to go. And
I've been awake the whole time. I'm just listening.
It's just the board is lighting up here with get the kids some coffee. Was that a yawn? I mean, it's just going on and on here. Most of these guys so it's just I find it kind of humorous. All right, we are get your questions ready for Jarrod. As long as the rivers are open, and I'm not saying they're closing, but as long as we got opportunity, there are some methods and some means to getting out and being successful on these Coho, Chum, and albeit there are a few Chinook hanging around, but we can't keep them anyway. So we're going to mostly focus on Coho and Chum. Get your questions ready. What is some great techniques and ways to go after them in this low, clear, almost summer-like conditions now as far as water levels are concerned? We'll try to get into Jarrod Katie's head when we come back from this break right here on FHN.
At Metals Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals. So we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
All right, welcome back. We are winding down. Lots of comments on here for sure. Appreciate you guys hanging out and lighting up the screen tonight. That is a lot of conversation happening. And as would be the case, Larry, lots of people are pissed at you. So I'm kidding.
You're welcome.
Get in line. Get in line.
Get in line. No, a lot of it's good information, not too bad. Barnum, our buddy Kelly Reardon, has a little event going on this weekend or something. What do you know?
Yeah, they're doing a intro to Chum. WDFW is doing an intro to Chum in Hoodsport Saturday morning at 9 a.m., right? You have more information on that? Do you know
Just, sign up. I think there's a registration on our website just to get people. I think there's going to be lots of folks there to help out. And
just kind of want a head count.
It's an intro. Yeah. It's a popular fishery. There's lots of fish, lots to see. It's hands-on. So
bring your gear, and you actually get to fish after some instruction.
Yeah,
is that the whole goal?
Yeah, it's open.
Yeah.
So
check out their Facebook page. You said all the details are on there.
Yeah, right? WDFW Facebook page. It's all listed right there as one of their up-and-coming events.
Yep.
Yeah,
they've been doing a lot of these. They just did the pheasant, kind of the intro to pheasant hunting thing.
They
now
did.
They're doing this.
Yep.
And, they're doing a lot of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of their efforts to reach the people and help them be successful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Recruitment. Yep.
Recruitment, big campaign. And more of that to come. And as that stuff continues to come up, we are going to be right here letting everybody know about it week in and week out. So our buddy Tom Ryle tries to keep us up to date on all the marketing stuff they have going on. Kind of weird how that works.
He's awesome.
Marketing manager.
All our guys are. Kelly Reardon.
So, all right, Katie, what do you know? Low and clear.
Low and clear.
Feel like you're summer on steelhead fishing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
sometimes.
It's down there.
I mean, you can see them laying in tailouts.
Yeah.
You can when it's this clear.
You finding success with coho pretty much just in the deeper waters? I mean, these things are pretty skittish at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you're approaching it a lot like summer steelhead as far as staying way back, way off them, twice as far as you would in a normal water condition. Mm-hmm. Smaller stuff, darker colors, a lot more darker colors. The approach is throw subtle first, and then the last cast, throw your spinner, throw your super bright, throw your chartreuse headed jig.
Try to get a big reaction out of them.
Yeah, pick off the ones that are a little more shy first, and then go after the kind of you're trying to trigger a response.
Sure.
Out of a fish.
You throwing any jigs under floats for coho?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Some I've done it, yes. Mm-hmm. But in the low and clear, bobber's too much. So I mean that hitting the water is huge.
Big splash.
I mean I'm known for. I have pretty big profile jigs. I'll cut my jig in half, to make it smaller, just to not spook fish and push fish away.
You're talking about twitching?
Yeah, for twitching.
So you're throwing 3/8 twitching in darker colors, clear water?
Yeah, I'm definitely the smaller stuff now, unless I'm fishing current speed or deeper water.
What color patterns are you recommending?
Purples, blues, a lot of black.
Mm-hmm.
When I choose a jig with what we call a hot spot or a highlighted color, making sure that color of the body is small and doesn't overtake the entire jig. Mm-hmm. And that's real important when choosing a jig in clear water, for sure.
So if I'm looking at, you got a number of patterns out there, sticking with black heads, or is a bright head and black body okay? Or
I kind of do, in the clear water, I'm going to do a bright head, dark body, dark tail, not a bright tail, bright head, dark body.
Right.
I'm not doubling up on the hot color.
Sure.
So, I mean, I've been known to take a Sharpie to my freaking head.
and dull it down.
Dull it down, totally.
Yeah.
Glow heads are good. Just dull. Make it real dull.
Smaller profile.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cut. I mean, I know you guys like to buy jigs, but cut that freaking tail in half with your scissors.
Yeah.
I do
it's too big a profile.
Yeah. It's too big.
I don't know about you, but when it gets this sunny, middle of the day, sun's beating down the water, low clear conditions, even if the water's 6 to 8 feet deep, I'm throwing brass, I'm throwing copper, something that doesn't refract so much brightness as far as your radiance of
brass, copper, or black.
Or black.
Full on black or copper.
I don't think guys utilize a black spinner often
Black's
enough.
a deadly color in clear water.
It certainly is, yeah.
Deadly for summer runs too.
Yeah.
I mean, all black, but
black blade, black body.
Yeah,
right?
dulling it down, and then staying way off the fish. Like I see so many people in low and clear water think, it doesn't matter. Oh man, I tell my clients we're not stomping our feet right now. We're coming in nice and quiet. nobody be shuffling around, get your business done before we get here.
Yeah.
This is our log jam on the left. Don't yell if you hook a fish up, because we're going for a double. So
that fish have ears.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Subtle.
Yeah.
You go real subtle.
All right. If the coho fishing continues to get a little tougher, you have any clients that want to go after chum? I mean, it's a great time of year to be going after chum. If you want to spend a day fighting fish, and let's face it, they're like a honey badger.
Yeah.
They don't really care.
They don't care.
And you can hoot and holler and high five when you hit that first one, because the next one's going to bite no problem.
Yeah.
We were talking at the break some different techniques and things to use as far as chum. I was going to do a little presentation tonight on, just a quick little go-to bobber and jig, little tip with shrimp, kind of a go-to slam dunk, or using a hoochie jig, something under a float. I'll get to that next week, because we're going to talk a lot of hunting next week, and that'll be a nice way to break it up. But, this time of year, I mean, chum get a lot of verbal abuse, but at the end of the day, if you have fought a good number of chum, there's no harder fighting fish.
They pull so much harder than a coho, it's ridiculous.
The only rods I've ever broke were on chum.
Yeah.
To be truthful. The only couple rods I've ever broke in my entire life of fishing have been both on chum.
Yeah.
So, and if you think, well, then you're not fishing hard enough, I don't gauge my fishing hard by how many rods I've broken, right? So, for whatever reason, they got some tenacity, man. Them things pull.
Yeah. And when they eat a rat plug.
Oh, yeah.
And when it buries.
So if you're in a boat, plugs for chum is almost a no-brainer. Wrap it with a little sardine or tuna or something on there, and it is just all day long. Yeah. If you're bank fishing it, bobber and jig, I like to stick with purples, cerise, purple black, purples and pinks, and blacks just seem to get it done. Tipped with a little piece of prawn is almost a guarantee most of the time. Been running also a black jig head and like a purple and green paddle tail WFO. And just a simple little worm jig, and they hammer it. It's just in their face, and they're just aggressive.
Yep. So green hoochies is another one.
Green hoochies are good. Twitching up chum is a good way to go about it. But if you're using your 7-foot rod, you definitely got a fight in your hands.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
It's happened.
It's a lot of pull from a 20-pound chum.
7'2", and maybe Puget Sound, where you're getting into an average of 10, 8 to 12 pound chum. But you come out here coastal, you better be ready for 15 to 20 pound chum salmon, and they are going to give it to you. So, you going to continue to fish on through the fall? I mean,
I'm planning on fishing coho and chum both back and forth, depending on how our coho, return continues and what it looks like. Yeah. All the way as far as I can go.
The Chehalis is running pretty darn clear as well, albeit it's got a little turbidity in it. It always does.
It's got 6-foot visibility.
Crazy.
Yeah.
This time of year, you don't typically get that. So, little higher profile color on your jigs if you're in spinners, if you're fishing Chehalis, or
no,
just keep it down.
If you look at that, I mean, I tell my clients every day, it looks like coffee. 7-Eleven coffee. Watch. And drop my paddle in there, see how far you can see it. You don't think you can see that far, but you really can.
Yeah.
I'm seeing 6 feet, no problem. And 6 feet is 6 feet anywhere you go, and they can see that easily.
Well, and especially with how sunny and clear the days are. It's not like you're fishing overcast days either, right? So a lot of light penetrating in the water.
Yeah.
These tributary streams are freaking gin clear.
Yeah, those fish, when the light's this high, those fish are not wandering very far off the structure, and they're not willing to chase 3 and 4 and 5 feet off a structure very often unless they're very aggressive.
Right.
So when you're pitching into your log jams, you're getting your fish on your 3rd twitch, or it's not going to happen most of the time.
Yeah.
That's how close you got to be.
Yeah.
They just don't want to, with the water being so low and clear.
Well, excellent. All right, good information. There's still fish to be had out there for now, and good opportunity to go. You got any openings coming up? You're pretty booked all the time.
Yeah, I'm pretty booked.
Pretty booked.
It's been a good year. Huh? People love twitching, and it's supposed to be a good coho year. So
this is true. So booked up.
Booked up.
Plentiful. You're welcome.
I was thinking it. I wasn't going to say it.
I'll say it. I've known him too long. All right. Any final thoughts there, Larry, before we get out of here?
Not really. I mean, you touched on the chum. It's a great entry fishery. There's lots of opportunity for people to go fish off the bank. If you're new to fishing, new to salmon fishing,
Yep.
you know, you drive down 101 in Mud Bay there, you see all the folks down there doing it every day. And
Yep, it's just
they're
starting to crank
successful,
up.
and so
Vehicles just started parking there a couple days ago, so it's time to go get them. You know, I mean, those are relatively fresh, just right there in the salt. You can fish at night. That does not have a night closure restriction on it. It's kind of an interesting fishery. They're actually not too bad on the smoker, and you can really start harvesting some eggs for that tremendous spring Chinook fishery we're going to have this coming year. I heard there's 500,000 coming back to the Columbia.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably nowhere near the
extra
truth.
zero on that? Or?
Yeah, yeah. All right, that's going to do it for us. I want to thank both you gentlemen for stopping by this evening. Hope you enjoyed yourselves, and make sure you thank the cook on your way out.
Absolutely.
She does a pretty nice job on that. All right, we are back here in studio next week, next Thursday, 7 o'clock. Barnum is on the hunt.
Hunting.
Huh?
I'm hunting. I'm not back in studio.
That's going to cost you a couple venison steaks.
Deal.
Done deal. How about that? See, that's how we do it here. I actually have some guests, co-hosts coming in. You guys know them for sure. They've been in here just as recent as a few weeks ago. Tom Ryle, Steve Kramer of Kramer Tackle are both coming back in. We're going to talk quite a bit on late season blacktail tactics and techniques. A lot of you guys were asking for information. Tom's got a ton of it. We're going to delve into some more chum fishery options and opportunities. Going to show you some rigging on some things, how to be successful and get the kiddos out there and go find some chum. So spend your week getting out on the water or in the woods. Make sure you get interactive with us on our Facebook page. Post up your pictures. We'll be announcing another contest here very shortly. And we appreciate y'all tuning in this evening. Again, thank you, gentlemen. It's been a great evening. And we'll see you next week right here on FHM.